It is Friday morning, the 13th of March, 2026. For most, it is just another day. But for the aviation community and the families of 6 brave souls, the world changed forever yesterday in the thin air over western Iraq. This is not just a story of a mechanical failure or a routine mission gone wrong. This is a deep dive into a harrowing mid-air collision during Operation Epic Fury. A moment where metal met metal at high altitude, leaving one crew fighting for their lives and another lost to the desert sands. Imagine the scene. 2 massive KC-135 Stratotankers, the literal lifelines of American air power, are maneuvering through the dark, vast expanse of Iraqi airspace. These aircraft are the iron workhorses of the sky, retrofitted with powerful CFM56 high-bypass turbofan engines capable of carrying nearly 200,000 pounds of fuel. Without them, our global reach vanishes. But on March 12th, the very coordination that makes this power possible broke down. The first aircraft, tail number 8017, a 1963 model operated by the 941st Air Refueling Wing out of Beale Air Force Base, was heading toward its station. Simultaneously, another tanker, tail number 23556, a 1962 model out of Andrews Air Force Base, was operating in the same sector. We now know from U.S. Central Command that this was not the result of a missile, not hostile fire, and not even an accident during the delicate mating process of mid-air refueling. Instead, the disaster struck during the tanker pattern, the complex dance of deconfliction where these giants enter a holding orbit to wait for the fighters and bombers that need their lifeblood. In a split second of terrifying violence, the 2 aircraft collided. For the crew of tail 8017, the impact must have felt like the end of the world. Imagine the violent shudder, the scream of tearing aluminum, and the sudden, sickening change in the aircraft's aerodynamics. They didn't know it yet, but a massive portion of their vertical fin and rudder, the very parts that keep a plane straight and stable, had been sheared clean off. In the cockpit, there are no mirrors to see the tail. The boom operator, tucked away in the back, has no window to view the damage above. They were flying blind, gripped by the unknown. While 8017 fought to stay in the air, the fate of tail 23556 was sealed. All 6 crew members aboard that aircraft were lost as it plummeted into the terrain of western Iraq. This aircraft had departed at 0517 Zulu. By the time of the collision, nearly 12 hours had passed. In the unforgiving world of military aviation, 12 hours is a lifetime. Crew fatigue becomes a silent, invisible predator. Were the eyes in that cockpit heavy? Was the coordination just a fraction of a second slow? These are the haunting questions that the Air Force Safety Investigation Board will spend the next 2 years trying to answer. But let's look back at the miracle over Israel. After the impact, tail 8017 began a desperate emergency return toward Ben Gurion Airport. But you don't just land a crippled 150,000-pound jet. The pilot, displaying nerves of steel, took the aircraft out over the Mediterranean coast. For hours, they performed a controllability check. This is a terrifying high-altitude gamble where pilots slowly reduce speed and change the wing configuration to see at what point the aircraft becomes unrecoverable. They had to know, before they touched the runway, if they still had enough control to land or if the plane would roll over and dive the moment they slowed down for the approach. During this time, they likely received a battle damage assessment. Another aircraft would have pulled alongside, its pilot peering through the glass to relay the grim reality over the radio. 8017, you're missing half your tail. Eventually, against all odds, the wheels touched the tarmac at Ben Gurion. The photos circulating now are chilling. A Stratotanker standing on the ramp, its tail looking like it was bitten off by a giant. It is a testament to the ruggedness of the Boeing 707 airframe and the incredible skill of the Beale AFB crew. But why didn't the crew of the other aircraft jump? There has been a lot of chatter about parachutes, but here is the cold, hard truth. They don't exist on these planes anymore. The Air Force removed them in 2008. In a pressurized four-engine jet moving at hundreds of miles per hour, your chances of successfully making it to the hatch, opening it against the slipstream, and clearing the engines and the tail are nearly zero. It has never been done successfully in the history of the KC-135. In a mid-air collision, gravity and physics are your primary enemies, and they move much faster than a human can. This tragedy leaves us with a heavy heart and many questions. We know that these aircraft are standardized. Any qualified crew can fly any tail. So while the plane came from Andrews, the crew could have been guard, reserve, or active duty. We won't know their names until the families are notified, but we know their sacrifice. They were 20,000 feet up, in the dark, making sure others could stay in the fight. As the Air Force begins its deep dive into the flight data, looking at the gaps in the ADS-B tracks and the long hours of the mission, we are reminded that aviation is inherently unforgiving of the slightest lapse. The deconfliction of altitudes and patterns is a meticulous science, and when it fails, the consequences are absolute. The loss of tail 23556 is a staggering blow to the 459th Air Refueling Wing and the entire tanker community. These men and women operate in the shadows of the fast movers, the fighters that get all the glory. But they are the ones who make the mission possible. They fly the long hours, the 12-hour marathons, and they do it in aging airframes that require constant vigilance. Yesterday, the show had to go on. Even as the smoke rose from the crash site in Iraq, other tankers were likely already in the air, filling the gaps, because the fighters over the horizon still needed fuel. That is the nature of the mission. It is relentless, it is dangerous, and today it is draped in mourning. We will wait for the final report. It won't come tomorrow, and it won't come next month. It will take years of painstaking analysis of every radio call, every radar blip, and every scrap of wreckage. But for now, we look at the image of 8017 sitting on that runway in Israel, a broken bird that refused to fall, and we remember the 6 who didn't come home. In the world of aviation, we say, fly safe. Yesterday, for 6 airmen, the sky was not safe. But their legacy is the global reach they provided until their very last moment. As the sun sets over the desert today, the tankers will still be there, orbiting in the dark, carrying the fuel and carrying the memory of Operation Epic Fury. Thank you for staying until the end to hear the full story of these crews. Their bravery deserves to be remembered, and the lessons learned from this tragedy will undoubtedly save lives in the future. We fly on, we learn, and we never forget. This is the Blanco Channel, signing off.